For more on all the leadership shakeups, I'd like to bring in Steve Rattner. He is author of the FT op-ed, The Great Man Theory of Business, and the former car czar, of course. Steve, you wrote your op-ed in the FT in the wake of Steve Jobs' latest move at Apple, but before we saw what happened last night at HP and at Google. Do they fit in with your Great Man Theory of Business?
They fit in the sense that leadership at companies as important as Google, at HP, and at Apple are critical. The point I was making was that Jobs was so much the essence of Apple, having taken it from near extinction to the second most valuable company on the earth. So I think you have to look very closely at senior leadership because it matters so much. I think at Google, I think the jury is out. Eric Schmidt did a terrific job, as he said in his own words, providing adult supervision. Larry Page seems to have decided it's time for him to take over his company. And I think the jury's out on how well that will all work. Certainly the previous arrangement wasn't working perfectly in terms of the interpersonal dynamics.
Let's contrast, though, the situation at Apple with those at Google and at HP. In the case of HP, the company was able to go and find another CEO whom people seem to think might be capable of succeeding Mark Hurd. In the case of Google, they have a bit of a bench, right? At least two other guys who have some experience running the company who can take over from Eric Schmidt. In the case of Apple, though, a bit of a different story. The jury is still out on whether Tim Cook is the kind of visionary leader who can take Apple forward into this decade the way that Steve Jobs has for the past 13, 14 years.
Well, I might put that slightly differently. You see, at Google, you have two guys who are true visionaries. I agree with that. They created Google, Sergey and Larry, but they've never really run anything. And running something, especially something, and Google now employs 22,000 people or some number like that, is a very complicated job. Tim Cook, on the other hand, has been COO of Apple, has had a lot of training in day-to-day, hand-to-hand combative management. He may not be a visionary. He may not invent the next great new product, but he can keep the trains running on time. So the dilemma for all these companies is how do you balance the need for vision with the need for somebody who can actually execute and manage. Jobs seem to have had that unusual ability to do both.
Steve, you've seen countless leaders in your career as an investment banker. What ultimately matters more? Clearly, balance is what matters the most. But Mo Koifman, a venture capitalist, was on here, early investor in Twitter, for example, on with us just about 30 minutes ago, saying that what's wrong at Google, and you can tell by the decision they made, is that they lost focus on the product. So leadership is critical, execution is critical. But is he right that if you lose focus on the product, neither of those matters?
Sure, but the question whether you lose focus on the product is a question of leadership. If leadership says, let's stay focused on the product, then that's what, look at this company that happens to own the show that we're on. The leadership says product, and so the product remains great. If you lose focus on the product, it's because leadership lost its focus.
So Apple, clearly a case where Steve Jobs embodied both. Where else are there good examples in the corporate world of leaders who can get both product execution, innovation, et cetera, right?
Well, certainly Jack Welch in his day did a great job. Lou Gerstner in his day did a great job of both balancing the need to keep focus on the customers and on the product, as well as what I will call simplistically making the trains run on time. But then you have other cases where they couldn't do it, and we've had such as at HP, a succession of management changes.
Steve, great insights. Thanks so much.